Hi everyone, today is September 15th, 2021, and this is AMA Natural Pigments. My name is Tatiana Zaytseva, and I'm assisted, like always, by George O'Hanlon, who is behind the camera and will help me today. This month, we celebrating entire year. We are with you, with an artist material advisor, and this is big deal for us, and we're happy to be with you today. It's still like last year. This year we're still going through same scare time where fires around us, and we're still safe. I will tell you right now, because I know all of you call us and every time ask about. Thank you very much for worry about us. We are good. We still have ahead of us probably another month of scary time, but today we're here, and today we will talk about a lot of interesting things. And this year brought us a lot of scary, I don't know, even events probably. So we lost couple colors, we gained couple colors, and so we brought back lazurite. And I do know that a lot of you who were on the backlist already got our letter. So then we have, it's not, we don't have a lot, but we still have lazurite. And I do want to warn people who don't know what lazurite is. So it's mineral. It does behave completely different than any of your pigments you use. So don't be alert. So if you think then you bought the tube of the paint for $100, it must be some kind of magic. And from the tube, it is not. It's just mineral. It's beautiful, historical color, but it's just mineral. And so it does behave different. Again, just remember about this. And if you don't like that, that was your, $100 investment. But if you do, don't hesitate. We don't have that many left. And nowadays, we don't know what will be with Afghanistan, when we will bring again that pigment. But so here, hands up. Today supposed to be a different program. We're supposed to talk about our lead whites, but since it was scary time for us, as for all of you, and I do know you call us and panically think that it never will happen, so then the lead white is disappeared. It's not. It probably will be different prices. Just please expect that. But we finally found the source for lead white, and we trying to prepare as soon as possible. But you do know in our company we don't put any additives, therefore pigment behaves as it's behaved, and so we can't push it. And when next batch will be ready, we will make a big announcement. And it will be about, we are talking about right now about lead white number 1 and lead white number 2. Here's small secret. It's about stock lead. And again, guys, I do know that exciting news you were waiting for a long time. It's about, so for people who listen today, that's your kind of like small bell, so like something is coming. So anyway, today we will talk about our mixed whites. It's we have 7 of them, and today we will talk about each of them. Year ago we had first our program about white colors, and of course we had so many people call us, and they were excited and they want to know more, and we understood, and we kind of hurry up that program. And so this time we decided to divide to 2 programs. So then today we will talk about only mixed colors, And next month in October, we will talk about lead white number 1 to barite. So basically our single color paint. And by that time, we're expecting all our whites be back in stock. So for now, let's start like now our program's going. We usually show you a short video where we prepared, George and I prepared before, and we will talk about during the video. Please ask your questions, and we will answer. We will try to answer immediately. And after a video, we will show you a couple slides, and after that, we will have a swatches. I will show you in live swatches, and that would be interesting to see. It's eye-open for us with a lot of behavior, what we didn't expect, and I will talk about this during the video. Thank you. So first we will start with crystal white. Crystal white come with idea after Venetian medium, where George put leaded glass to the medium. It's a Venetian medium, but then he come up with the idea, why don't we make a lead white with crystal white, because crystal leaded glass, because it will change refractive index of the paint, and so this paint will be quite transparent, and we definitely don't suggest that paint on the first layer of the painting, because definitely you will lose all that luminosity of that paint.
It's a very transparent paint, and
yes,
that's why it doesn't make any sense to put it at the bottom of a painting.
So here, when you see when I am kind of like scratching the surface, and you will see the glass, it's not very apparent. It's not like what you used to have like with our French colors, where you definitely feel like almost the sand. This is not the situation. But if you will put too transparent, then you definitely will see the difference. Mica Lead. So Mica Lead comes with mica particles, which in first case we almost have 50-50 lead white and crystal white. Mica is very fluffy substance, so we didn't want even to put enough, I mean a lot of to the paint. But it's definitely changed the property of this paint. It's very interesting. If you would call me like 5 years ago, I would tell the Mica Lead is the stiffest one. Absolutely not. Actually, it's fluffy one, but not the stiffest. Interesting about mica particles, George, if you can in English say then how they interesting.
So mica is a natural mineral, and it has a very flat or lamellar type of particle. So it has a very different behavior in paint, and that's why we added it to that.
Venetian white is 50-50 mix lead white with barite, barium sulfate. Barium sulfate is very heavy pigment. Actually, one of the heaviest what we have, probably, let's say, after violet hematite.
The density of barite is very similar to that of lead.
Yes.
Lead white.
Mm-hmm. So, therefore, this color will behave almost identical to just pure lead white. But it's due to the very heavy particles, it will be very dense. Yes, that's good the word for that one, dense.
It's dense, but it's also transparent. So these are
Transparent.
very all of these mixing whites are very transparent.
Like I said, we should start with just pure LEDs, then you would see and compare. But just what happened, we started with this, and so you will see. I will show next month the difference. So lead whites are, although they are much transparent than titanium, but still more opaque than any of these mixed whites. So Ceruse is 50-50 lead white with chalk. This is the fluffy paint, because chalk is very fluffy white pigment, and of course it's white while it's just on dry
as a dry powder. So
yes.
again, because the refractive index of these fillers or the extender pigments, they cause the mixture with lead to be very transparent. So again, but a difference here with Ceruse, because of the low density of the calcite or the chalk, makes it very different. As Tanya described, is very fluffy. So it has a much lighter feel to it as opposed to the Venetian white.
And you can see the peaks. Actually, the peaks are standing up, which in every color I was showing, some of them standing up, some of them disappear immediately or making thinner, longer strokes. Flemish white. People always knew about danger of the lead white, and so it's why on 18th century manufacturers started to look for something less dangerous, and the lead sulfate was one of these pigments. The unfortunate part is it's not giving the same strength as the lead white. So Flemish white, what we did according to historical formula, we had the mixture of the lead sulfate and lead carbonate, basic lead carbonate. So again, it's not as transparent as other ones, but it's very long. You can see that. In fact, until the probably last year, Flemish white and lead white number 2 were the longest colors, white colors, on our palette. Today will be different one, and it will be the last one of the series we will show you. So this is Flemish white. And you can see how long, yes, how long that one. Lead titanium white, we come up with this one a couple years ago, and if you knew me 8 years ago when we started classes, and I was almost swear that we never will use titanium. Now we do have titanium because life is our life is very bright and strong, and so then a lot of you using titanium white as a strong color. It is strong white. It's very different one from lead white. So, but since we were telling artists, if you do need very bright highlights, mix lead white with titanium. And then we thought even that could be difficult or sometimes impossible for you. So that means you need to have 2 colors together. So we made that one, titanium, lead, titanium white. Beautiful white, but losing the texture. You can see then it's already very soft. Mixing white is titanium white with barium sulfate, because we do believe that titanium is too strong. And again, we will talk about titanium among the single colors next month. But this one, George made mixing white. So basically, he tuned down the titanium white. But Barite did this to titanium. You can see how long it is.
very long and stringy. So this is also a very transparent white, and
transparent according to titanium, but not to lead white. It's very strong white, and we will show you that a little bit later. And you can see there's no body. It's stringy, but it doesn't give any body to paint.
It tends to level out quite rapidly. A lot of that is due to titanium, especially when titanium is used alone. It doesn't have a very good consistency.
That's why probably a lot of companies were using titanium with zinc, because zinc at least would give some kind of body to the paint. We do have titanium as a single pigment. It's good color if you want to use. We don't use any zinc.
Yeah, it's pure titanium, which is pretty rare out there because most manufacturers will add a filler or possibly another white to help the body of it. This is very stringy, especially here at the end.
More you play with that, more it's melting. I guess I'm obsessed with that, so I'm going back and back. Now we will talk about very important subject, and that is yellowing. Every artist call us and ask, is that the yellowing white? Is there not non-yellowing medium? And that's not exist. But what we show you today, it's how you can make your dingy white bright again. So George, you want to have a slide?
Yeah, so first we got to explain the difference between yellowing of oil paint and darkness yellowing. Darkness yellowing occurs when a painting is maintained in darkness or even in reduced light. And so it becomes yellow. But it does recover when it's returned to light. And in the 1970s, Henry Levison did a study on the yellowing and bleaching of paint films. And he studied 3 different drying oils in white paints and a variety of artist painting mediums. He had 32 different painting mediums, including acrylic emulsions as a comparison. And what he found that is after 4 cycles of putting the paint samples in the dark and then putting it back in the light, for 3.5-year-old paint films, they could still be bleached to their initial whiteness. So in essence, when a painting is kept in the dark, and you may see this, by the way, if you're looking at a canvas and it's a white canvas and you had it in storage and you put it away in darkness, and then when you brought it out, it was very dark yellow. And you became very concerned about that and whether you should paint on it. Well, what we wanted to test is to determine how fast does the bleaching or the original white recover. And it apparently that the dark yellowing doesn't seem to be a function of the age of the paint or the extent and frequency of the bleaching that the films have undergone. So we wanted to extend this test that Henry Levison did into a present study. So we studied the recovery time of various whites by indirect north light exposure. And what we found is that with very brief exposure to indirect north light, almost completely bleached the yellowing that was built up over a number of years in the dark. The samples that we will show you were kept in the dark, I think, at least 4 years or more.
It's from 2014, so it's
right.
Much
They've been out a couple of times to look at, but generally they've been held in the dark. And we're going to talk about yellowness indexes, and what you're going to see is numbers that are below 4 are not readily detectable visually. So we're using a spectrophotometer to measure the yellowness as well as the whiteness. And what we found in this study overall is that they recovered at least 80% of the original white within 48 hours of exposure. So it's not something to worry about. You can really get any of that yellow dingy paintings that have darkened as a result of darkness yellowing. They'll recover quite rapidly. So we used 2 measurements: yellowness index, which is the degree to which a color shifted from the preferred white towards a yellow, and also whiteness index, which is how much the white closely matches the properties of an ideal reflecting surface that reflects light equal in all intensities and all directions. So I'll let Tanya explain this particular graph.
That graph would be very easy to explain if people at least will see the, first swatch. But so, because here's just numbers, pure numbers. Can we go to the, yes, exactly. So that's how we did, guys. So we took our samplers. So we have 3 mil samples and 6. It's the thickness of the paint. See on the left side of your screen, you can see the 3 mil. So basically you can see it's very transparent layer, where on the right side it's you don't see that black under the white on George, if you will show with the, yeah, like this. So you see it's only 24 hours later, and you can see how under black it's yellow, the yellow area. That's how yellow that lead white was. So, and you can see oh, it's 2013. So I see then it's 2013, 24 hours. Look how lightning on very left side of the white didn't matter at all on the black color. You can see this is that was the mixture of the lead white with bone black. Nothing, no changes there. So let's go next one. So 12 days later.
Yes. Go back to.
So then when we will go back to all our swatches, you will see, so it started as a bright dark or yellow the most, but it's lost that yellowness the most too. You can see how rapidly it's going. And so first 2 days, basically 24 hours to 48 hours, it's all went all the way to original state of white. And then doesn't matter, you see then we hold it another 10 days after that, and it's staying very bright white. And you can see by different colors, you can see Venetian, crystal, lead white, all of them almost drop the numbers in 2 days.
So the yellowness index declined rapidly,
yes.
And you say within 48 hours,
yeah,
it's almost back to its original. More days, of course, will bleach it even more. And here's the whiteness index. And we can see that, again, it's the opposite, is how much whiter it's becoming. And you can see that the rapid change as it goes back to its almost original state.
Yes. So here's lead white again. So what we told you how it's become white, but what we notice, even under the black paper, if it's exposed to light, it's still lightning. And in fact, we had the numbers we didn't put because it would be a lot numbers to show you, but it's not explained, but just if you trust me. So it's actually lightning too, quite a bit. And so
the difference between the two drawdowns here is that on the left side we have a 0.03 of an inch.
That.
Oh, okay, sorry. And then the other one is much thicker, and you can see the relative transparency of the thinner paint. Let's go to lead white number 2.
And you can see the lead white number 2 on 2 to 6 mils, even under the black paper, it's whitened. So Venetian, dramatic changes. And so you see how here you can see how Venetian is much more transparent than any lead white we had before, lead white number 1 and 2. You can see then Venetian is transparent even in 6 mil. You can see the black bar behind the paint. And again, that's how it's lightning after 12 days. Mica surprised me the most, because when we open our swatches, 7-8 years later, mica was almost yellow as barite, which is interesting. Then it's whitened the most from all colors. If you will see the numbers, mica was the brightest one. And you can see how transparent that one is. So because you see again, even on, I don't even mention on 3 mil, but on 6 mil, you can see how transparent, and you can see that bar under. Flemish White, again, you see the dramatic change, and it didn't light as much under the black. Flemish is different. See, again, we're talking about lead sulfate, so this is a little bit different than lead carbonate, and so it's darkening. It's not even more yellowing as much as it's going towards gray, and we will show you a little bit later on swatches. So I'm not sure why we're watching Crystal White and Flemish White, George. So I think it was mistake. So yep. Can you can you switch next one? So here's barite. That's what we were talking about. So it's why, guys, when we talk to you about barite, it's beautiful color, very transparent. Don't use alone, because again, it's as chalk as any other extender pigments, because in many companies barite is the extender pigment. We just choose to have this as a color because it's very interesting to add to another colors, but to use alone it would be mistake. You can see how it's yellowing. It's again going back, it's losing its yellowing, but it's at some point in the light, but still you can see how dingy white it is.
You want to comment what it looks like in black?
Absolutely, yes. So you probably notice in between all of the blacks, which we will show a little bit later with different colors, but you can see how barite is making very luminous color. You see that? So because
let me just flip it back.
Okay.
Yeah.
There. You can see that. Oh, here's great Crystal, Flemish. You can see two, and then go back to barite. Yes, you can see how, because that's why I do believe you artists talk about then your darkest must be the paint thinner. And the transparent. So that's what you do. Essentially, that's what you do with barite. You make your color more transparent, and so that would be great opportunity for you to use barite with any of your dark black colors. Are we finished here? I guess we finished. So back to me and now I will show you all our swatches. And so George, if you would actually put upper camera, and so we will show. Okay, here we have, here's my lavender. So crystal white. So let me show this. See how Mica looks very, although on the camera when we show you it was all of them were white, but see how different they are. And so here's Venetian, little bit grayish color, Ceruse, Flemish, what we were talking about. So, and you can see the mix in white. You remember we were talking about how different that is, and you see how glossy, because again the particle size on titanium is so small, so therefore the oil will look different. So you can see on the light, I will try to show like this. And crystal, because it has the bigger particles, it doesn't have much, oops, here, it doesn't have much glass. So now I want to show you how it looks with different colors. So this is Cadmium Red Medium. And again, you can see then mixing with different colors. Any of this whites what we talk didn't make much difference on that small particles, synthetic color. But if I would show you, let's say, Verona green, you will see the difference. This is pure Verona. This is with crystal white, and you can see lead titanium and mixing. Here, don't look, this is for another program, but here's titanium, pure titanium. And so you see here, you don't notice much difference. What white you use. Here, definitely noticeable, because Verona has bigger particles and it's much more transparent as it is. So here we can compare with cobalt chromite, and again here would be already noticeable. Here's again, because chromite is quite transparent in this case, and so then you can see then here pure color. And so on first, let's say 5 whites, you don't see much difference. It's difference comes obviously with titanium.
Maybe you can talk about drying time when you're talking about those colors too.
Yes, that's good point.
And if you go back to
completely forgot
the
about
cadmium,
yes.
that would be good.
Okay, so I slowly will bring that back. So crystal white dries quite fast. So as Mica Lead, Venetian, and Ceruse. Flemish dries a little bit longer, but not as lead titanium and mix in white. Mix in white will dry very long. So it's why I did that swatch week ago, and I still can't touch it, because even in Venetian, oops, I already, so you can see, yeah, all of them still wet. So please,
cadmium being a very slow
cadmium
dryer.
always dries slow, yes. Here we talk about oh shoes, I made a mess here. So cobalt chromite dried all of them already, and it's actually dried already a couple days ago, and I made this on September 8th. Today is 15th, so yeah, it's dried quite fast. Ultramarine dried the same way with cobalts, and so it's already all dry. You see the difference in ultramarine. You see that mixing white is giving that glossy appearance. And so again, in the first 5, you will not see the difference in the color. The difference only in behavior, because each of them will give different behavior to the paint. Here we have Viridian. Viridian dries quite fast, except with mixing white. So it's all dried again, and so let's go back to, and of course yellow ochre dried very fast, because again it's bigger particles, and you can see it's a little bit orangey on the screen, which is not, so you can see here is Blue Ridge yellow ochre, and actually I can tell you this, Blue Ridge yellow ochre dried in 3 days, even mixing white, which is interesting. So it's doing opposite, so it's drying the mixing white instead of mixing white making prolonging the drying time for everything else. So this what we wanted to show you, how different whites are changing the color of the paint. So here, and I did this since I was doing that swatches, so then I wanted to show you. So here's crystal white, here's mica, Venetian, and Ceruse, Flemish, lead titanium. And you can see, as much as it's quite transparent color, it's actually each of them made the Verona quite how to say, more opaque, which is strange. Maybe just because it's the particle size. Yes, George, it's different. So
on the lead titanium,
yeah, look
so
at that.
the obviously the lead titanium and the mixing white are more opaque than the other these other colors. Of course, the green earth is very transparent.
Yes.
But with one of the things, not only is the color shift differently for the lead titanium and the mixing, but also have to keep in mind that titanium tends to reflect more of the blue light, so it does definitely shift the color to cooler, which titanium is a much cooler white than lead. Lead tends to be warmer.
Yeah, which makes sense actually to use the titanium with cool colors and use the lead white with warm colors. It's kind of probably. Oh, here's Viridian. I'm showing. Look at that. Again, first 5 you don't see much difference, and you can see how it shifted immediately on last 2.
Again, we see the same thing with the titanium.
Yes.
Making the color cooler, which works possibly for Viridian if that's what you need. And
Yes.
all of these, by the way, are at the same thickness, so 0.006 of an inch.
Yes, it's quite thick one, so I choose that to see.
Just to give you an idea what 0.006 of an inch, it's like 2 sheets of office paper.
Here's our ultramarine green shade, and you can see again, look at that, what a difference here too. Quite transparent color, and that's what it does. So here's our cobalt chromite. And you can see how glossy both of these colors are.
The mixing white and the lead titanium tends to be a little bit glossier.
Yeah. And of course here's yellow ochre. You can see here again we're talking about first 5. And you can see the difference here in 2. But okay, let's see if I will be able to, because I was afraid to even touch. Oops. So you can see there are no difference in cadmium.
Cadmium being a very...
But again, it's our cadmium. I just want to tell you this is Rublev Colours Cadmium Red Medium. I didn't try to any other companies. Not I'm saying something, but this is Rublev Colours Cadmium Red Medium. Nothing, because again, remember, in our company we don't put any additives, any fillers, so it's just pure pigment, and sometimes it's overwhelming because it's too powerful. But that's what we decided to do. That's what we last 17 years we make in our company. Absolutely no additives, and
so
and
the ratio
no,
you use,
yes,
the ratio you
50-50.
So 1-to-1
Yes.
was the ratio.
Yes.
And the cadmium, there's not a lot of difference, not because they were mixed to the same value,
Yes.
but because, 1-to-1 ratio with these particular whites,
Even titanium not make changes.
it just doesn't affect the opacity or tinting strength of the cadmium.
Yeah.
And again, like Tanya mentioned, the cadmium that we make, there's no filler, there's no additive, so it's pure oil and pigment, which is true for all of the Rublev colors.
You can see how other colors are making cadmium more flat, because again, remember, here's bigger particles, here's bigger particles. Here's even bigger particles, because in Venetian and Ceruse.
Which one was that?
Look at Ceruse. It's chalk here, and you can see how the glass is different. So this is mixing white. This one is mixing white, and you can see how glossy that is. And in all other mixing whites, it's making much more flat, because of the particle size. Okay. So what else do we talk? Do we have any questions where we are?
So going back, let me see. We had an initial question about the timetable of the stack white.
Okay, just for people who watch today, we finish our stack lead. And don't say anybody. So we will have that color probably by next week, George. Yes, on website officially it will open for public on September 30th. So that
after September
30th, yes.
So it'll be available on the website.
Yes.
So next question is, what's the second best white after lead? Is there, in other
lead
words,
white number 2?
So if you can't find lead, which we understand, it's very difficult right now.
Guys, the situation will change. Don't worry. I know so many of you call us and so panicking, and I feel horrible, because in July we thought we still will have enough lead white to accommodate everybody, not through our stores, but at least through website. Look like only Canada now, lucky ones. So I think they have couple tubes there left in Canadian website,
and some in Europe too.
Yeah. Probably like 3-4 tubes left in Europe, but we are out completely here in our US store. And I remember when people called and asked, like, should we just buy more? And I was like, no, don't worry, we will have it. We will have it. I promise you. It's just a little bit longer. The answer is...
So there isn't a second best to lead white. The issue, folks, is that we now know that lead white maintains oil paint longer, flexible, and stronger than any other pigment. That's incontrovertible facts now. And that's why we've always been recommending the use of lead white in oil painting. Doesn't make sense in any other paint medium, but there it does. And adding other whites to it, of course, gives you a broader range of not only color, but opacity, and which is important. But we really can't lose lead white at all.
So next month we will talk about 5 different colors, and among them will be lithopon, and it will be titanium. So I mean, it's only 2 options for you left, basically, for oil colors. So far, we still couldn't find another white. Its centuries was like this, and so that's what it is. And I'm so sorry for that, that news. So there's no good white other than lead white.
Another question, does that mean the lead titanium mix is a neutral white?
Oh, no. It's still cold. It's still cold. There's no way you make. We will talk about another thing what other companies have, like replacement of lead white.
Replacement flake white.
Flake white. Not good news. So we will show you. We had numerous tests about this, and so therefore, no. Lead titanium is still cold.
Yeah, and again, even though in our lead titanium, the titanium is a minor component, or ratio-wise, it still is very powerful, and it tends to dominate that mixture, even at less. There's another question. Do all these come in powder pigment form?
Yes.
Except for lead white at this point in time.
Yes, it will be.
It will be. Well,
wait a little bit. We found the source. It's here in our factory. George just can't release because everything must be perfect in George's world. So it's why we are all anxious. But so we definitely will have it, and pigment back. And of course, all what we talked today about, you definitely can have as a pigment. Yes, we sell.
And Murray asks, I'm interested in using cerusite. What are your thoughts on cerusite?
Cerusite is natural form of lead white.
Actually, it's a natural form of lead carbonate.
Yes.
Which is not lead white. And that's very important to keep in mind. So it's a natural mineral, it's quite rare, and as rare has almost never been used in historical painting. So there are hydrocerusite, which is a even more rare natural form of lead, but hydrocerusite is mostly the synthetic form, and there can be synthetic cerusite. So when people say that they found cerusite, the natural mineral, in a painting, that's unlikely. So I just want to make sure everybody understands that. Next question is...
I guess if you do want to use in tempera painting, so probably it would be dingy white, but it's
not as, the lead carbonate is not as opaque as the basic lead carbonate.
Yes.
And the basic lead carbonate, which comes in 3 different crystal forms, we'll get into that later.
But, my husband, you can just, so simple answers. George, let's just go ahead.
Okay. So next one is... Yes. If due to what was shown, parts of a painting end up more glossy than others, will use of Conservar isolating finishing varnish prior to final varnish or as the final varnish even out the different degrees of glossiness?
So first of all, that's another thing we guys we will talk about on September 29. So George will have his session. It's studio tips, and let me see if I will do this correct. Changes in the binding medium, secrets of the old masters. So it will be September 29. Here it's Pacific time, 10 o'clock Pacific time. Please be there, and we definitely will cover that, because the short answer today is, so it's why we're telling you don't use different mediums on different parts of the painting. So if you do use something, so then it must be kind of even. If it's not, theoretically, Laura should change that. But again, we're very careful here to say this, because every time when we say something, people take literally, and then they go to their painting, and where will be absolutely like different glossiness, and so it will not fix it, and they call. No, so far we didn't have that calls, but I don't want to have that calls where you will say it's like, no, it didn't fix it. So
basically, the Conservar isolating finishing varnish may correct uneven glossiness in a painting, but only use it as a final picture varnish. Never use it between
No.
paint layers.
No.
And there's actually a course on the paintingbestpractices.com website, and it talks about matte, glossy paint, and everything in between, and basically how to correct that kind of issue where you have uneven gloss, and how to mitigate it in a painting, and also to correct it at the very end. Next question: which powder white pigment are best for egg tempera?
for egg tempera, use titanium.
You could also use zinc.
Yes.
Zinc white.
Absolutely.
And lithopone.
Yes. All of them would work
whites.
perfect for tempera. Absolutely. So even zinc actually would be beautiful one, because it's a little bit more transparent than titanium. We have another color. It's called titanium calcium, where titanium actually encapsulated in the calcium, so it's not as powerful as pure titanium. So we have two types of titanium.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let me see. David asks, when dry are they matte? I'm not sure I follow that question. But or maybe you meant to say when dry, doesn't the oil paint becomes matte? Sometimes, but not all the time, I would imagine. Just depends. Again, what Tatiana mentioned, the particle size of the pigment may make a large difference, plus the oil used.
That will be very apparent next session, when we will show you lead white. We will show you stock lead white. And since our stock lead white has a much bigger particle, so you can see then it will change the structure of your painting very dramatically. Same like lazurite. That's what I today started talk about lazurite, because the particles of the lazurite last batch we did, huge. That's why the paint behaves very unusual. So it's why I opened today this session with lazurite. Then yes.
Next question: why is lead white so rarely used?
What do you mean? It's opposite. It was
lead. I'm sorry, I read it wrong. Why is lead sulfate so rarely?
Oh, okay. That's different story. So, because again, it's not as lead white. It doesn't give all benefits of lead white. It does have this funny appearance. Now I'm.
It was rarely used among artists, but in the 19th century, a large amount of it was used in house paint. And
yes.
The main reason it wasn't used among artists is because it wasn't introduced as a readily as a
yes.
paint
Okay.
in those times. It was called Flemish White, and it was also called Patterson's White and Freeman's White. And it was thought to be a less toxic lead form of lead.
It is, but that what we notice again in our swatches, in your painting it will look different, but in our swatches it was most not going towards yellow, but kind of grayish one. So that's interesting. But it's again, if you don't have much benefits, why to bother?
Another question is, they're asking about how do you order stack process flake white if it's not on the website? You're going to have to wait until after September 30th, right?
Yes. We intentionally took from website right now. Don't be scared. It will be back. It's ready. We just need to accommodate everybody who was on the waiting list for so long. So that's why we are doing this. We need to be sure then we thank people who were with us, staying with us for last 2 years waiting for that color. And so it's organizational part. And now September 30th, we promise you on website, 8 o'clock morning.
September 30th.
Oh, come on, it must be on my birthday. So it must be on my birthday. We waited so long, so we will do that. So September 30th, I promise you.
All right. Chet asks, can I use sealing varnish as an isolating varnish? We don't actually recommend that at all. We don't recommend isolating varnishes between paint layers. As on top of the final painting, yeah, that's not a problem, but not between paint layers. And there's an article in the Natural Pigments website. We talk about the use of resins such as Damer and mastic in paintings and how they're problematic. And I will cover more of that on September 29th. That's one day before Tanya's birthday.
Jesus, now you're making jokes. Okay.
And so I'll talk about the use, how that became very popular 18th, 19th centuries, even now. Yeah.
So, but in meanwhile, I'm not sure who asked that question. George can put a link right after that session on the conversation, and you can just easy find that article on our website.
Mm-hmm. Next question, what's the safest way to clean brushes with lead?
Like every other color, you need to remember about all colors. If you paint with cadmium or with lead, doesn't matter. So you obviously the standard procedure is you take almost everything possible from the brush with the paper towel, and then you clean in cheapest oil you have from your market. So you clean that, so then where it's lubricate all hair, and then you clean more with paper, still like take out the particles, and then you clean with warm water and soap, and that's it. That's how easy it is.
Yeah, the vegetable oil, which has most of the contamination from the lead and really other colors, you take that to your local hazmat
which you do need to
paint.
do that anyway. Yeah. Doesn't matter what colors you use.
Chad is still asking about sealing varnish under a layer of final varnish. It's okay,
yes.
But we actually have much better isolating varnishes to be used under the final varnish.
If you talk about our sealing varnish, so or I don't know if it's somebody else, but we do have great. It's based on Larapal resin, and it's called
Conservar. Isolating.
Are you today
finishing varnish.
Interrupting me?
Next, I missed the third white for egg tempera: titanium, zinc, and
lithopon, or titanium calcium.
Yeah, it was 4 of them then. Yeah.
So yeah, we have 4.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, any more questions?
By the way, historically, barite and chalk were used as white in tempera because it's one medium where the chalk looks white. I mean, it's not as white as titanium, but it's definitely white in which in oils it's completely transparent. In tempera, it will be dingy white chalk. That would be the least.
Not as bright a white.
Yes.
Yeah. How can I find out if I'm still on the early list for stack white?
You call to office to Kira, and Kira will definitely find you in that list, or to put you on that list. Okay, so I'm assuming it's all for today, and so there are no more questions. Please come back on September 29th for George's studio tips. It will be from the Painting Best Practices website, like always. It will be he makes now much easier, so you just click there. You need to register on Painting Best Practices. You click there and you will be registered, and next month in October, I don't remember exactly the date, we will make again big announcement. We will have AMA about second part of the whites. We will talk about lead white number 1, 2, stuck lead, lithopon, barite, and titanium white. Thank you very much. See you next time.